Hello, welcome to your weekly news report. I'm your host, Brian Dubb. We're going to kick things off with the partial government shutdown. For those who may be unaware, the government is still partially shut down. The Department of Homeland Security is still not being funded. The DHS entails agencies such as Coast Guard, ICE, CBP, TSA. So just be mindful that those agencies are still not being funded, with emphasis on TSA. ICE is already funded, so they're not going without pay, but TSA are the main agency that is being affected by this government shutdown. Hopefully Congress can reach a mutual agreement to get that passed. But here's another perspective on it. Check it out.
Without pay as a partial government shutdown continues and the extremely long security lines at some airports around the country are not likely to improve anytime soon. A
lot of TSA agents are calling out sick or even quitting. To all my TSA agents out there, hopefully you can weather the storm. Don't make a long-term decision for a short-term situation. I know it's tough. They've been going on for over 30 days without pay, and the airports are definitely feeling the brunt of those workers not being there.
Obtained by ABC News reveals nearly 10% of TSA agents called out sick on Tuesday,
as well as the patrons.
Atlanta and New Orleans were hit the hardest, with nearly 40% of agents calling out at those two airports. For context, typically, only about 2% of TSA officers call out on any given day. Democrats, meanwhile, are taking new steps to fund the TSA amid the partial government shutdown. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries unveiled a discharge petition yesterday.
As of the time of this recording, I can report that I want to say last Saturday, the bill did not get passed. So this is going to be going on for the foreseeable future, but hopefully not too long.
Forcing a vote on legislation to fund the TSA, FEMA, and the Coast Guard.
This is day 33 of the Trump Republican shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Why is this happening? It's because Republicans have decided to force TSA agents to work without pay. Inconvenience millions.
TSA agents are resorting to go to food banks. Thank goodness for the community for galvanizing around them, but it's getting tough out there. Mortgages are still due, rent still due, car payments, if you got them, still due.
Americans across the country and create chaos at airports rather than get ICE under control.
So ICE is being funded and TSA at a time that we possibly need them the most, when the threat of terrorism is looming, not paid.
Yeah, I know we take advantage of them, but TSA agents, that's extremely important agency. You know, everybody wants to be safe, especially at airports. So hopefully we can reach a resolution on this.
Is a long shot, as Democrats will need at least 4 Republicans willing to sign the discharge petition to force the bill to the floor. So, Joe, Republicans, I think they benefit from TSA agents as well in terms of the safety of their travel. So
we're going to leave that there. We're going to monitor it and definitely report on it. TSA agents, my heart goes out to you. As I mentioned before, stay the course. And they just hang in there. I'm sure it's a back pay package. I'm not all the way sure on how they work their finances, but if they come to work, I'm pretty sure they're going to get back paid. So with spring break going on for some and right around the corner for many, I want to give you a glimpse of what's going on at the airports, just so you can get an idea of the situation.
Just as the next wave of spring break travelers hits the nation's airports, key TSA checkpoints are in gridlock and meltdown. Hours-long lines at Philly with half.
I mean, we're getting reports that Patrons are required to show up at the airport 4 hours early, at least 4 hours. That's unprecedented. Normally the traditional time to arrive before your flight departs is 2 hours. So this is not ideal.
Terminal checkpoints closed. Nationwide, the TSA says roughly 10% of its officers are calling out every day, working second jobs to make ends meet.
I got to say, I can't blame, over 30 days, I will be calling out too. I'm sure frustration is starting to set in. If you can find a side hustle, I would maybe, put more attention towards that. I would try my best not to get relieved, but I can see or empathize with them calling out. Heck, they might have daycare bills to pay, and they might be trying to subside that. Who knows?
%38 call out in Atlanta with 90-minute TSA lines.
It's so packed, and this is the long line.
38% call out in Houston, too, with 2-hour delays. Adding to the stress, assaults on TSA officers. In Dallas,
that's unacceptable. It's not their fault. They don't sign congressional bills, so that's unacceptable.
A 33-year-old man arrested for punching 2 TSOs and a police officer, facing up to 20 years in prison. The U.S. attorney warning violent conduct perpetrated against TSA.
At the time of this recording, I do have reports that ICE agents may be coming in to supplement the TSA agents. I still need to confirm.
Law enforcement officers will never be tolerated. Meanwhile, no progress in bipartisan talks on Capitol Hill to end the partial shutdown.
Do you see me? Do you see that I'm showing up every day?
TSA officer Heaven Jones has 3 children to feed.
A lot of stress on my family, deciding whether to pay for groceries, gas, all different types of bills.
At airports nationwide, airlines and food banks are feeding TSA.
Having to decide between groceries and your bills or gas, you're going to need that petrol. That's no bueno.
The Trump administration warns
we'll get to gas in the next segment.
Shutdown and TSA callouts continue.
You're going to see small airports, I believe, shut down. You're going to see extensive lines, and air travel is going to almost come to a grid halt. Stop.
All right, Tom Costello joins us from Reagan National. And Tom, some members of Congress have now left town.
At some point, the road is going to have to hit the road. I guess we're just going to keep piling on or just seeing until it bursts at the seams, the situation.
Without an agreement?
Yeah, that's right. And the president
something's going to have to give.
Of the union representing TSA officers is saying this is ridiculous to leave town without funding DHS. Tom, we have seen these members of Congress walk right through the airport.
This is a safety issue, actually. If you ask me, this is a safety issue.
Past us up to the TSA line and go through past the officers who are now still not getting paid. Tom?
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on.
So we're going to leave that right there. Heart goes out again to those TSA agents. So just in, breaking news, TSA agents, again, our heart goes out to them, but they may have a saving grace. How it all works, I don't know, but check it out, breaking story.
Are bracing for long security lines as the partial DHS shutdown drags into another busy travel weekend. Thousands of TSA officers are calling out of work, and it's expected to cost airlines millions of dollars.
I wonder how many people are saying, hey, I see the situation. I'm just not going to travel, or I'm going to drive, but I guess people say, hey, well, obviously airlines is you saving your time. It's too far to drive. You might just have to get back in a couple of days, but it seems like people are still trying to go along with their travel plans.
Day with this one heading in the same direction. Here to talk more about the high price of this shutdown is Taylor Riggs, co-host of the Big Money Show, a great show. Sometimes I get to sit in with you. And Taylor, nobody better to address. So let's talk about the economic impact of this.
Yeah. So for now, not a whole lot, because as you can see with the
it's interesting to see if they're reducing the flights and if that will increase the prices of the tickets. So we'll see.
So long, there's still a lot of demand there. Now, the longer this goes on, the more of the economic impact. I'm not thinking about just me being inconvenienced, but what about all the people who are going without paychecks? They still have to pay rent. They have to pay their bills. So I'm worried about their ability to make payments. And then, of course, when people at home start to think about spring break, Easter's in 2 weeks, looking at these long lines, are there going to be people like us who say, okay, you know what, with young kids, maybe I won't travel, I'll cancel my flights, I'll pull back. If you get enough people who do that, then that's a real economic impact of people pulling back and saying, I'm not going to travel, I'm canceling plans.
I think unless it was something urgent, that's the side I would be on, just kind of scaling back on the traveling until we get this whole thing rectified.
You know, you raise a good point, because it's not just spring break. With Easter coming, now decisions have to be made, as the Senate doesn't appear to be any closer to breaking this logjam.
You know what's interesting is there's a group of airports, San Francisco International is one of them, who's involved in the SPP. Basically, it's falls under TSA in terms of those private contractors have to have the same standards, but it's sort of a public-private partnership. It's close to privatizing TSA that we haven't had in a while.
So they were speaking on maybe prioritizing the TSA. I don't know if that's the correct route to take, but there may be a billionaire who's willing to step in and save the day. Let's check it out.
So you brought up the privatizing. We just, in the last headlines here minutes ago, we learned that Elon Musk is now offering, putting on the table, that he will pay.
That would be quite the hefty bill. I'm sure he can handle it, though. What a great gesture, but I don't know how exactly he would be able to make that whole thing work.
The salaries of TSA employees, you can see it here. He says, I would like to offer to pay the salaries of TSA personnel during this funding impasse that is negatively affecting the lives of so many Americans at airports throughout the country.
I am glad he's at least speaking on this, because it is it's a pretty heavy issue. It's important. And, you know, I'm glad it's starting to get some traction, some notoriety, so we can find out how we can get this bill passed and these employees compensated.
I gotta tell you, Taylor, good on you, Elon Musk.
Yes.
If you have the wherewithal and means to do it, because these TSA agents, these men and women, are real humans. And a lot of them aren't calling out sick or quitting because they're angry. It's because they've got to make ends meet, and they've got to rush out and find a job where they're going to get a paycheck.
We've done so many statistics that right now you have, a quarter of households living paycheck to paycheck. Imagine if you're a TSA agent and you have...
That's a fact. It brings home the whole, which is tough, having 6 months of expenses. You know, a lot of us live paycheck to paycheck, and just imagine not getting compensated or getting paid for over 30 days.
To feed, and you're not getting paid, and you're not able to put food on the table. You are having to call out to maybe work a second job. I love Elon Musk. He throws things out there. I'm not sure it would really stick. The funding does have to come from the government, but I love that he is pushing calls to get out there.
So we'll leave that right there. Again, what an outstanding gesture. Good on you, Elon. Hopefully that'll force the lawmakers to get their stuff together and get this bill passed. So let's talk about gas prices. Everyone knows, due to the conflict, gas prices have been on an uptick. I'm starting to feel it at the pump. I'm sure it's a lot of my fellow Americans. California, who's always at least $1.50 above the national average. Let's see what it's looking like over there. My gas bill has went up at least, I would say 30%. So hopefully this is a short-term situation here, but let's check out what's going on over in California.
Joining us now is Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis at GasBuddy. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
I think a lot of people...
I wonder how many of those EV owners, how they're feeling right now. I remember I think it was 2022, gas prices were soaring and EVs were pretty popular. Since the new administration came in, gas prices, they've been down, and the demand for EVs has went down. So, they were kind of in a critical state there. So I wonder how they're feeling right now.
Questions here as to why we're seeing these prices spike, why they're spiking.
And hopefully, I have my eyes on the company car is a EV. I have my eyes on getting me a personal EV. So hopefully the short term situation, which I hope it is, doesn't increase the used EV sales. So we'll monitor that.
Here in California, the national average up more than 80 cents in just a month. Can you explain why the Strait of Hormuz has such an impact here, despite about 65 to 70% of oil used in the U.S. being domestic?
Well, we know that the U.S. is the greatest producer of oil, but globally, I know I think reports say 20% of the global oil comes through that strait.
Yeah, first of all, the Strait of Hormuz is probably the most vital waterway on the planet when it comes to oil shipments. 20 million barrels, or a fifth of the world's total oil supply, goes through the strait on a daily basis. And now, because we've seen attacks already happening on vessels in the strait, all those vessels are basically now parked, anchored, waiting for some improvement. And every day that goes on, we lose out on 20 million barrels of oil that would be flowing through there to countries like China and India. Now, as you mentioned,
I got a buddy he drives the F-150 to work. It's about 40 miles, not round trip, one way. And he's considering buying like a more fuel efficient vehicle, like a Honda Civic, due to the rise of gas prices. So I don't know if this is a short term issue. I don't know if that'll weigh, but just want to give you the mindset of some consumers out there.
Does not end up in the United States. It goes to areas like Asia. But for the same reason that housing market values don't go up just on one street.
I'm going in on EV myself, but don't raise the prices on those used EVs. I have my eyes on them.
One neighborhood, but generally an entire area, is the same reason that we are also subject, I should say, to the prevailing price of this global commodity. Home prices go up in larger areas across the U.S. and across the world, and oil prices not too dissimilar in that higher oil prices are impacted everywhere, not just in the United States.
Not just oil, though. My energy costs, I know over the winter, it was a more colder winter over here on the East Coast, and my natural gas bill, my heat is on natural gas, I definitely felt the effects of it. It was higher. It was higher by at least, I'd say 20%. I know the number that I'm used to paying. I was paying 20% over that over the winter,
regardless of where that oil may come from.
Now, here in California, we know gas costs about $1.50 more than the national average. So can you break down why it's so much more costly here in the Golden State?
California has a lot of regulatory.
Everything's high over in the Golden State. I've been to California over there visiting. I worked over there, but too rich for my blood. I can have it. I'll stay on the other side.
Environments that kind of push the price up. We have the cap and trade program in California, essentially refineries having to buy credits to produce gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel. As you mentioned, you have the high gasoline tax. There are other programs as well in California. The CARB, the Air Resources Board, mandates a specific blend of gasoline just for California's consumption. And now also this year, of course, there's been a lot of coverage on refineries that are permanently shutting down, given these guardrails and how they've limited California refineries to operating their business. Another refinery, the Valero refiner in Benicia, trade program in California, essentially refineries having to buy credits to produce gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel. As you mentioned, you have the high gasoline tax. There are other programs as well.
Hopefully this is a short-term issue. I don't want to belabor it, but as of the time of this recording, I know it seems like we are reaching, hopefully, some in the right direction on the conflict over there, or at least they're postponing some operations. So hopefully that'll result in things getting back to where they were. I'll let this play a little more, but I think everyone gets the point on this one.
California, the CARB, the Air Resources Board, mandates a specific blend of gasoline just for California's consumption. And now also this year, of course, there's been a lot of coverage on refineries that are permanently shutting down, given these guardrails and how they've limited California refineries to operating.
So yeah, we get it. California, you're a whole different animal on that one. You're a whole different animal on that one. So yeah, let's endure these gas prices. I myself drive a fuel efficient vehicle. I get like 40 miles to the gallon. So yes, my fuel cost has went up, but it's not catastrophic. So Xbox. So Xbox, it looks like they're taking a different approach. They're going to take the play anywhere approach, meaning you can play their particular titles on competing consoles as well as your computer or even handhelds. So I think that's going to be their model going forward. There were reports that they were not going to build a new gen console. However, I did research and they do have one coming out, I want to say 2027. So that's always good news. Xbox always sell their boxes at a loss and they try to make up with it with their IP. So they do have a new game recently released. It's Crimson Desert. It looks absolutely sick. But what intrigued me the most was basically how they were advertising, play anywhere. So we'll see if this IP actually goes to PlayStation. But check it out, and we'll go from there. I'm an Xbox player. We do have the PlayStation as well, but Xbox is an American company. Microsoft, and I don't know. I like an underdog, so I've been rocking with Xbox ever since the Xbox One. I wasn't there with the 360s and all of that. I still was heavy on the PlayStation and Nintendo. But yeah, I definitely have the Xbox Series X. I think it's fantastic. Got hooked to a monitor, great frame rates. I don't game as much as I don't game that much, but when I do the Xbox, I like the gameplay on that. This game looks absolutely fantastic. The hard copies were sold out when I looked it up, but I might have to get this one digital. I won't be partaking in the handheld. I know they have I forget the manufacturer, but they have the handheld joint. I got the Switch, I got the PlayStation Portable. I think I'm a stand by on the handheld Xbox gaming platform. Again, the game looks absolutely amazing, but what really caught my eye and the reason I wanted to report on it was the anywhere is a great place to play. I think that's going to be their next move. I'm glad they're building a new box though to compete with the next gens, but I think they're really going heavy in on the cloud gaming. And shout out to Xbox Game Pass though. As I mentioned, I wasn't around for the 360 days, so Game Pass allows me to tap into those games that I never even played as they were being released, back in the day. So I like Xbox. I like what they're doing. I know they're in a little kerfuffle, with the finances over there, but I hope they continue to make products, make IPs, and I hope it all works out for them. So Crimson Desert, it's absolutely phenomenal graphics. I'm gonna pick it up and I'm gonna check it out. So Apple released a new product, the MacBook Neo, targeted for young adults or folks who want to just get into the Apple's ecosystem. Priced at I want to say $599 for the 8 gigabits of RAM, and 256 gigabytes of storage. I actually picked one up. I got it for my son. I got him the 8 gig RAM with the 512 gigabytes of storage. And what that's going to do, that comes with the fingerprint ID, the fingerprint, well, finger ID touch. So you can open it up, do passwords. It's a little easier. If you get the base model, you're going to be, steady typing in passwords, and it's more convenient to just have the finger ID. But nevertheless, I'm glad Apple came out with this product. I want to say that it's going to be a hit. I want to say that for sure. Go ahead and show you, and we'll do some commentary on it. But it's the MacBook Neo. I think it's priced appropriately. It's sturdy. It's good build quality. I haven't opened it up yet because, again, it's going to be a gift. But from my research, it's going to be a nice way for folks to get into the Apple ecosystem without breaking the bank or investing too much. So here it is.
This is MacBook Neo, an amazing all-new Mac at a surprising price. To make it, we reimagined how to build a laptop from the ground up, and we use.
If you're going to be, this is for your average user. If you're going to be doing editing, it might be able to. I had to test it out. It might be able to handle that. But that's why they have the Neo for your casual users. They have the Air if you need a little bit more power, and of course they have the Pro for those professionals who need that type of power.
Most recycled material of any Apple product. We start
great build quality. My son's, I think he has a Dell. It's plastic. It's already busting at the seams. I don't know if he dropped it or what, but this one looks a little more sturdier. So hopefully I get a good ROI on this one.
With aluminum.
The only thing is he does like the game. I don't know if this one can handle the gaming. We'll test it out and report it back. But his Windows, he definitely games on that one. And that's another thing. I do want to broaden his horizons to the different OSs. It's always good to be familiar with, Windows and Macintosh. So that's the goal.
It's light, durable, and just feels really great in your hands. MacBook Neo has a stunning 13-inch liquid retina display for vivid images and sharp details.
This is going to be a competitor for the Chromebook as well. If they get these into the schools, then good on Apple and good on me for my Apple stock. So let's keep that going. So if they get these into the schools, that's going to be a game changer. The keyboard on this product is not backlit, but that's okay with me. I have a MacBook Air, and yes, my keyboard, my keys are backlit, but I mean, I normally use it in the light, so it doesn't really, I hardly notice it. I'm not on the computer typing at night too often, or in the dark, I should say.
Its signature.
So that was a fine trade-off, in my opinion.
The keyboard is super satisfying to use. The multi-touch trackpad lets you click, scroll, swipe, and pinch anywhere on its surface.
Mac, they have some of the best trackpads in the business. I'm sure this one would not disappoint. Super excited for this product.
And the model with Touch ID allows you to instantly unlock your Neo, sign into apps, and pay for stuff with just a finger. To make it easy,
just adds a level of conveniency, so definitely recommend getting the extra storage and the ID on it, the print ID.
Connect and to charge, we built in 2 USB-C ports and a headphone jack. The 1080p camera and high-quality mics mean you'll always look and sound great.
That was another selling point. As my teenagers get older, they do the Zoom and all that good stuff to perform in school. So with the 1080 camera, you can't beat that. They didn't put a potato camera in there, so they didn't cheap out on the areas that really, really benefit members' experience.
We also added new side-firing speakers, supporting spatial audio with Dolby Atmos. So when you watch a movie, it's kind of like being at the movies. Neo comes in 4 colors.
I'm not too much of a movie watcher. while on my laptops, but I guess maybe the younger generation, they're into that kind of stuff. So good on them. I'm pretty sure the battery life is going to be great. This one has actually a iPhone. I think it's the A18 has the iPhone chip in it. So I think it's the first of its kind. So it's going to be pretty unique, and it's going to be great to see how it performs.
Indigo, blush, and this fresh new citrus. We even color coordinated its keyboard and feet because, you know, details.
Nice little touch. Apple's pretty good with the details.
MacBook Neo is powered by A18 Pro. So it wakes fast and launches apps quickly. You can fly through everyday tasks, explore new hobbies, and browse through everything you love. Use Apple Intelligence to clean up images, express yourself, and get things done so easily. You can also run the most popular AI apps. And because Apple Silicon is so efficient, it packs up to 6.
Being able to run AI these days is very beneficial. I want to say there's going to be baked in ChatGPT. Don't quote me on that one. I'll let you know once I unbox it.
Hours of battery life. At the heart of Neo is macOS, an incredibly intuitive operating system. Privacy and security are built right in.
Plus, if you already have iPhone, you know, if you're a teenager or if you want to get into the ecosystem, you already have iPhone, you're going to get a great experience. You know, they work seamlessly.
It's loaded with all the apps you need to get started. And it's easy to add the apps you already use. Best of all, Neo works like magic with your iPhone. You can start a chat on your Neo and continue on your iPhone. Or copy from one and paste straight to the other. You can even use your iPhone without holding your iPhone.
Fantastic features. Apple, you're doing a great job. Look forward to my boy getting used to this product, and the price point is spot on.
So that's MacBook Neo. Everything you'd expect of a MacBook at a price you wouldn't.
So we'll leave it there. Again, $599 for the base model. You want to bump up the storage and get the fingerprint ID. It's going to be $699. I think that extra $100 is worth it. So definitely keep your eyes out for that. Apple, good job. Keep doing what you're doing. Let's get that stock going up. And appreciate everything you do over there, over in California. So Apple recently acquired MotionVFX. They're a company out of Poland. And what they do is they make plugins for DaVinci Resolve and Final Cut Pro. I am a Final Cut Pro user, so this is fantastic news, great news for the company as well. So what it's going to do is it's going to just make transitions, and what they do is they make state-of-the-art transitions. Let me show you. They make state-of-the-art transitions. It works seamlessly with Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro has always been a little behind the curve in the software game for editing. Solid application. I can make videos there and chomp through it. Seamless transitions, you know, through the ecosystem. But features has always been a little lackluster in Final Cut Pro. And what MotionVFX does, what they do is they make these plugins, and it just makes it so much easier. Like they have AI word extensions where, you know, it'll say your words on the bottom of the video. It's a multitude of things. I have MotionVFX. I don't use it to its advantage, to be honest with you. So with this partnership, it's going to be great for the Final Cut Pro users. What we don't know is the extent of MotionVFX with the Apple. Like, are they only going to offer it to the folks who due to subscription, or will it come to folks like myself who have already bought it outright? So that remains to be seen. They have 70 members dedicated to this project. Will it still produce products for DaVinci Resolve? I'm not sure. Time will tell, but I want to say that this should get them up. It should up the ante for them to compete with editors, applications such as CapCut, DaVinci Resolve, Adobe Premiere, and all of those competitors. So this is a step in the right direction for sure. Editors who use Final Cut Pro should be happy about this. This is going to be a great addition to the product. Again, they note this is our biggest edit yet. MotionVFX joins Apple. We're extremely excited to share that MotionVFX is joining the Apple team to continue to empower creators and editors to do their best work. Phenomenal. This is great because I was going to be honest with you. I was going to cancel my MotionVFX subscription because it is a little costly. You can't just buy the plugins now. It's another subscription service. So I try to avoid those. So it's going to be great to get those complemented already within my Final Cut Pro software. So report back on that for sure. See what new features come arise and report back. And that's going to be great. So again, that's the weekly news report with your host, B Dove. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.